let's take insecurity as an instance. The insecurity that we have will be giving you a kind of thinking that want to know how best can we solve this insecurity matter. If perhaps you may have to go to field, maybe as a result, maybe you are carrying out a particular research or you are doing an intervention program somewhere, and you experience attack, maybe from no, we will not experience it by the grace of God. Maybe because look at what happened in Oyo State recently. Teachers were abducted and student pupils abducted from that school, from those three schools. They were abducted while they were performing their duty, while they are on right duty they were appointed for. As a result of that, that will have given them different experiences in life that they never experienced it. Because of that, they may come up to say, okay, let us find out, let us research why are people involved, because of their experience, why are people involved in terrorism or in banditry. You may also see street children selling at the motor parks along major highways while you are on duty, and you want to find out what must have caused this. That is practice-informed research. The research-informed practice as a result of your literature review, as a result of what you have gone through, as a result of going through all the researches that have been established before now, going through them, you identify gaps. From that gap, you can come up with another research, and that is the essence of research anyway. When you identify a gap in a sequence of researches, what do? It is that gap you want to fill. So when you do that, that's the research informed practice. It is because you are a social worker, you practice, you go to the field, you make use of research findings that have been conducted before you also do your own. So with these experiences, with this knowledge of yours, you are in better position to make use of your scientific inquiry skill to ensure that we have a better society. Competency 5, engage in policy practice. Everything you do at the end of the day, you bring them together. You want to influence the policy that we have at the moment. Remember, one of the duties of social workers is to challenge policies that are not beneficial, policies that are not productive, policies that are not helping. So as social workers, you understand what policies are, how effective are these policies, and because you are engaged in the process of policy making, in the implementation of that policy, you understand your areas very well. You understand the history, you understand current structures of social policies and services, the role of policy in service delivery, and the role of practice in policy development. You understand the role in policy development and implementation within your practice setting at the micro, meso, and macro level. And you also actively engage in policy practice to effect change within those settings, like I said. So as social workers, you identify social policy at the local, state, and federal level that impact well-being, service delivery, and access to social services. Social worker, you assess how social welfare and economic policy impact delivery and access to social services, and so on and so forth. This is a very important competence that you should possess, meaning that policy formulation process will be understood by you, policy implementation process as well, and policy evaluation. All these are things you should know and to be part of you. Then we can say you are a competent social worker. Again, competency says engage with individuals, family groups, organizations, and community. You remember, as a social worker, you're looking at long-term well-being of an individual. From that individual, you want to translate that to family, you translate that to group, you translate that to community as a whole, society as a whole. You are looking at their well-being. So because you are concerned with them, you have engaged with them, or you always engage with them in that order, definitely you understand the dynamic of that relationship. You understand that engagement is an ongoing component of interactive process of social work practice. And you do most of these things on behalf of the individual, family groups, and communities. You value the importance of human relationship, like I said. When you have that, as social worker, that particular competency to be with you. How best can you engage with individuals? Remember, when you are dealing with an individual, you look at the individual as a whole. Looking holistically at an individual, you are looking at this our family, you are looking at this our community, you are looking at this at the entire society where he lives, I mean the environment where he lives. You understand the theories of human behavior, understand strategy to engage diverse friends and constituencies to advance practice effectiveness. You should have all this. Social workers understand how their personal experiences and active reactions may impact their ability to effectively engage with diverse clients and constituencies as well. As social workers, you also follow principle of relationship building. You use empathy, reflection, interpersonal skills to effectively engage diverse clients and constituencies. I know you know the difference between empathy and sympathy. In social work, you don't sympathize, you empathize. You empathize. You put yourself in that shoes. Put yourself in their own shoes. That person that is suffering, that person that has an issue, if you are the person, what will you do? Or how will you handle it? So this is what we do. So because of that empathy that you have and reflection and interpersonal skill that you possess, then you are competent. The evidence-informed engagement skill also possessed by you as social worker. So competency 7. Assess individuals, families, groups. You know, we deal with individuals, we deal with families, we deal with communities in that category. When you assess, you're able to understand that individual very well. You understand that assessment is an ongoing component in this, and you understand different methods of assessment with diverse kinds and constants to advance practice effectiveness. You recognize the implication of the larger practice context in the assessment process. Follow the importance. Of course, you know what assessment means. You want to assess an individual. When you want to do you want to put it in a bigger picture, you evaluate. Assessment is just a subset of evaluation. Assessment is like you are being more specific of knowing that individual very well, but at a micro level or at a very low stage. So social worker, you collect and organize data, apply critical thinking to interpret information from claims and constituencies. You apply knowledge of human behavior. You develop mutually agreed on intervention goals and objectives based on the critical assessment of strengths, needs, and challenges within claims and constituencies. Of course, you understand or you have heard about needs assessment. Before you can even bring in any intervention, you need to understand, you need to assess the needs of that particular individual or your service user, be it an individual, family, or group of people. You need to do that assessment. You select appropriate intervention strategy based on the assessment you have done. You want to conduct a research. and you have not actually assessed the situation in that particular environment. For any intervention program or project, the first thing they do is to do the need assessment. If you want that project or program to be sustainable, you look at what do those people, what do they need? What are their first needs? What are those things that are germane to them? What are their priorities in development? If they desire water and you give them market, the market will not be utilized. If they want health care and you are talking about school, if they deserve education, they deserve school building, and you are giving them teachers, you can see, which means there is no realignment between their needs and what you want to do. So as social workers, you should have that skill of assessment. 8 now, you intervene with individual. Remember, when you do the assessment, the essence of that assessment is for you to intervene, to develop a program, to provide a kind of project for them to lift them off their problem. But when you assess and you cannot intervene, that is one leg of the journey. So because you assess, in order for you to ensure that you have a successful intervention. So the next thing is for you to have that skill of intervention. How do you intervene? How do you intervene? It's an important component, and this is what you also understand very well. So you want to implement what you have planned for them. You want to implement everything in that intervention package that you have prepared for them. So as social workers, you critically choose and implement intervention to achieve practice goals. You apply knowledge of human behavior, you use interpersonal collaboration, you negotiate, mediate, and advocate with on behalf of these service users and constituencies. In this case, you have to ensure that everyone is carried along. Then we talk about participatory. Participatory approach in the sense that everyone is included. You are looking at inclusive policy. You are looking at inclusiveness, where everyone, either male or female, old or young, literate and non-literate, able and disabled, you bring everybody in. When they all participate, that particular program or that particular project becomes their own. So there is this sense of willingness that it is our own. They will not see it as your own. They will see it as their own project or their own program. But when you try to load your own ideas onto them, what you have is your own project. After you leave, after your intervention period, what happens? It is abandoned. What happens? It is failure of that particular project. And the community or that individual will not be able to continue. That is why these days, what we talk about is sustainable approach to everything that we do. When you do things that are not sustainable, please have a routine and ensure that any program, any project, any intervention, whether physical or not physical, whether social or economic, any kind of program or project, you must look at the sustainability of that particular program or project. So next is competency 9, and you try to evaluate practice with individuals. After your intervention, while you need to do evaluation, that is why you assess, you intervene, and you evaluate. When you don't evaluate, when you don't do that, it means that you will not be able to know whether you have achieved your objective effectively or efficiently, whether you have any outcome, whether that outcome will lead to impact. So as social workers, that skill must be with you. You should have it in mind. Anything. That is why you see the development development partners, this development, this donor agency, they have monitoring and evaluation unit. It is important that monitoring and evaluation component is always well planted in whatever project or program they want to do, because it's a critical component of any intervention. If you don't know, if you don't have that evaluation, it's like going on a destination. When you are going, it's like you are going on a journey. When you get to where you are going, you will not know. When you don't evaluate, you will not know that you have reached your destination. It is evaluation that will assist you know that you have reached your destination. So we'll talk about qualitative and quantitative method of evaluation. Remember that in evaluation you have formative and you have summative. The one that you do as the program progresses or project progresses, maybe quarterly, every two months, every 3 months, every month. And you have the summative that will do overall evaluation of the whole project. And that may even lead to signing up or just closing up the program. That is summative. The formative one may be every month. This is quite different from monitoring. Monitoring is like step-by-step assessment of progress. At every step, at every stage of the project, you assess. That is monitoring. But when the project cycle is completed, you can evaluate before you start another cycle. Then when the entire project span or lifespan of the project has come to an end, you bring in summative evaluation. So the same thing that we do in social work. When you intervene, you assess, you intervene. When you intervene, you want to evaluate that particular what you have done. In this case, you select and use appropriate method for evaluation of outcomes. You critically analyze, monitor, and evaluate, and you apply evaluation findings. And there are different methods in evaluation that we do, and those methods are very, 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 very useful. You need to acquaint yourself with them very well. So, and that is these are the competencies that are required of social workers in what we do. And I want to believe this when you go through very well, you will understand more of what I've just explained. So, do you have any questions? Questions before we proceed?
You can go ahead, sir.
C-level. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, just 1 minute. Just 1 minute. Okay, you are welcome back. You are welcome back. We are proceeding to rapport building And as social workers, what is expected of us in this regard will be discussed in few minutes. In rapport building in social work, it refers. Can you still see my screen?
Yes, sir. We can see.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
Yes, sir, we can see, sir.
That is fine. You know, rapport building in social work refers to the process of establishing a trusting, respectful, and empathetic relationship between the social worker and the client. It is a foundational skill. It is a foundational skill that allows clients to feel safe, understood, and valued, which is essential for effective communication, assessment, and intervention. Well, don't be surprised. I'm adding a new note to what we have here, but just read this for you to understand better. Like I said, rapport building refers to, sorry, just a minute. It refers to the process of establishing a trusting, just underline that, respectful, and empathetic relationship between the social worker and his service user. In this case, the client. We are talking about trust. We are talking about respect. We're talking about empathy within the relationship that you have between you and somebody you want to assist. So you can see that it's very, very important for us to have that skill of rapport building. You look at what we have. How do you get on with another person or group of people? By having things in common. You know, this will make the communication process easier and more effective. It's about developing a connection, trust, and understanding with others. So what are the key elements of rapport building in social work? What are the key elements of rapport building in social work? Let's quickly consider the key elements of rapport building in social work. 1, remember these 3: trust, respect, empathy in your relationship with your client. So what are those elements that you need to have to build a rapport, a very good rapport? Because when that happens, it means that you're going to have a kind of connection, a kind of relationship, a kind of how do I put it now? A kind of effective communication between you and your service user. 1, active listening. Pay full attention to what the client says, both verbally and non-verbally. Showing genuine interest without interrupting or judging. When your client is giving you information or is talking or you is interacting with you, you need to have active listening. You know, when I talk to you, I cannot see you now, except I put it on video. That is when I can know what you are doing, whether you are paying attention or you are not paying attention. If it is one-on-one interaction, I will know whether you are paying attention or you are not paying attention. If a client is before you and a client is trying to narrate his or her story, you know, at that point in time, the client believes that you are a savior. You are the one that can solve his or her problem at that particular point in time. The client will forget about whether he believes in God or he doesn't believe in God. It is you that is your God at that particular point in time. And if your client is before you, sitting before you, the other side of your desk, and you say, I'm listening, whereas you are punching your phone, whereas you are attending to somebody else, whereas you are receiving call from the other hand, you can see that kind of event. The client will know that you have no interest in his or her case. So that trust will be lost. that respect will be out of it. And you will definitely understand that you are not all that empathic, that you possess no empathy at all. So the relationship will break down from that point in time. So you should ensure that you have active listening. The number two is empathy. Like I discussed the other time, empathy refers to you putting yourself in the position of that particular person that is before you complaining or telling you about his or her story or about his or her trouble, about his or her problem, about his or her challenges. You need to understand and acknowledge the feelings of that individual and experiences, communicating care and concern appropriately. You need to do that appropriately. You need to understand and acknowledge his or her feelings. That is empathy. Another element is respect and non-judgment. What is respect? If I may put it to you, what is respect? What is respect? Can anybody guide us? What is respect? Somebody to guide us in the house. What is respect?
Hello, sir.
Hello, I'm with you.
Respect means honoring one's decision, one's view.
Okay, good. Thank you. Yes. Giving regard to others. Giving regards to others' feel. Giving regards to the feelings of others. That is respect. When you regard someone, you give regard, you honor his views, you honor how he is. That is, you take that person as he is. If you say you respect me and you don't honor my culture, you don't honor my ideas, you don't honor all I have as an individual, which may be different from yours, which means you have no respect for me. But when you respect me, you give regard to those my own attributes as well. So when you respect, you follow the client's dignity. You follow regardless of his or her background or behavior. You have to follow that dignity. You avoid biases based on culture. Avoid biases based on religion. Avoid biases based on gender. And avoid biases based on socioeconomic status. That is respect. And you are not judgmental because you are a female or because you are a woman. And there is an issue between two spouses, husband and wife. And because you are a woman, you want to bring in the bias of being a female gender into the issue. No, you remove that bias. That is when you respect that individual. That is when you respect the husband. That is when you follow the dignity of that person. No matter what you have, because of that gender, you don't allow that bias to overshadow your intervention into their program, into their problem, to enable them to live a better life. So that is what we mean by respect and non-judgmental. Again, warmth and approachability. Warmth and approachability. Are you approachable at all? May I see some people's faces? Even inside a vehicle. Hello? Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
We can hear you, sir.
Some
We are all
people,
here,
when
sir.
you see the way they frown their faces, for you to even say a word, because you don't want to say, because of what the countenances you have seen, because of the countenance of that particular person. Are you approachable? I put it to all of you in your workplace. where you are, in your own cubicle, are you approachable? Do people feel free to talk to you? Do they feel um uh, do you admire them to yourself by your conduct, by your approach, by the way you attend to them, the way you even present yourself? Do you present yourself arrogantly? As social worker, you should drop all this. Do you still wear ego cross in quotes? Do you still wear them? When people will see you and they want to run away, they will not want to meet you at all. Even in your offices, are they happy seeing you? When do you put smile on their faces when they see you, even without knowing what you will need, what you want to offer them? Do you put smile on their faces? So these are social workers. For you to build a good rapport, these are things you should possess. These are things you should have. If you have not been doing it, please start doing it now. In your workplaces, wherever you are, in your community, in your family, in your environment, with your colleagues, with your friends, in clubs, everywhere, so that people will know. No wonder you are a social worker. That is why you behave this way. That is the comment that is disturbing of a good social worker. They say, "Oh, no wonder you are a social worker. That is why you have behaved that way." Are you the person that gets so angry easily? You have that low temper. You have low temper, and so on and so forth. So this you must actually respect, and using friendly, open body language and tone of voice, creating a welcoming and supportive environment for your client. When you create a welcoming environment, if if the environment is not friendly, if the soil in the environment is not fertile, will anything grow in that soil? Nothing will grow. Even if you plant there, it will not bring any yield. So that is important. Let your soil be fertile, my brothers and sisters as social workers. Let your environment be welcoming. Just let your environment be friendly. Then you will see that your service users, they will be happy coming to you, giving them appointment. That see me next week. They will want you to see. They will want to see you tomorrow. They will not want to wait. They can't wait till that next week because you are friendly, because you are approachable, because you can easily attend to them. You create a home away from home. Then consistency and reliability. Are you reliable at all? Are you reliable? When you say a word, when you say one thing, do you stand by that you have said, or do you change? Do you change? Do you change, or you stand by it? Are you dependable? Some people depend on you, can your client depend on you? But all these are very, very important. When your clients see that you are such an inconsistent person, you give him or her time today. The next week is your next appointment to come, so that we can finalize what we are handling. Perhaps you are giving him or her 10 o'clock next week Tuesday, 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. But 10 a.m. before 10 a.m. the client is available. You are nowhere to be found. So they are calling you. Your colleagues in the office are calling you. That knows he has not come, or he has not come, or you have to wait. 10:30, 11. At 11:30, you now surface. Do you think that particular client will come to you, will give you respect, will have that trust in the relationship between the two of you? Being dependable and following through on commitment. Building trust through ethical and professional behavior. That is when you are consistent, when you are reliable. Commitment. Do you respect commitment? Confidentiality and boundaries. Do you know your boundaries? Do you respect confidentiality that is expected of a social worker? I hope no social workers should, I believe no social workers should suffer from mouth diarrhea. What is mouth diarrhea in quote? You want to say everything that you know, everything that has come to your knowledge, every information at your disposal. You give it out to anybody, regardless whether you obtain consent or you don't obtain consent. There are people like that, but as social worker, you must regulate this behavior. You must have that. You must have self-restraint. Even your spouse, if it is purely confidential, they are not expected to disclose that information. I hope you remember some people in their offices, they take oath of disclosure, oath of non-disclosure. Sorry, oath of non-disclosure. There are certain things that come to your table that you should not reveal to any other person. If you see the oath of allegiance that being sworn in by those in position of authority, by those politics, by those our leaders, even up to the grassroots level, up to the councillors level, when they swear there is oath of allegiance, there is the oath of office. That is why they are separated. In the oath of office, go and read it very well. Get a copy of the constitution. You see it there. Oath of allegiance and oath of office. There's a particular clause there that says, I shall not disclose or reveal any information that has come to me by virtue of being in this position to anyone else except authorized to do so. As a result of that table, passing through me, as a result of occupying that particular place, passing through my table, as I now reveal it, it's in the, go and check the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria very well. And in most oath of allegiance or most of oath of offices. So essentially, explaining the limits of confidentiality clearly. Let your client know the limit. To what extent you can disclose this? To what level you can tell people this? What are those things that you can also disclose? As social worker, confidentiality is very, very important. You maintain appropriate boundaries while remaining supportive. It's not that there are certain information that are general, but there's information that you cannot just disclose because you have a confidential history of your clients with you that should not be disclosed to others. And you get home, you start telling your spouse everything that goes on in the office. No, it's not done that way, except it has come to the public knowledge. That is why you see the journalists when they fly, when they put an headline or when they put on a report on the newspaper, when they put on any information, if it is classified information, they will not disclose the source. They will never disclose the source, or unless the court of law just require them to disclose that. Unless it is required to do that. I hope you also know this data protection law that talks about internet data, whatever, so that no third party will have access to your own database. Why is El-Rufai being tried now? Why is he being tried? Because he tapped the NSA line to understand the conversation between NSA and the DSS and so on and so forth. Because he has breached the law. So we also talk about cultural sensitivity. Cultural sensitivity. I hope to meet in November when we'll be having our conference. That's something that is related to cultural sensitivity. We'll discuss that. If you have seen our flyers, that is part of the team of the sub-teams of the conference coming up in Asaba this year by November. I hope to see all of you there after your successful program. So we're looking at culture. We're looking at culture holistically. Being aware of and responsive to cultural, religious, and traditional values, especially in diverse settings like Nigeria. Diverse setting that we have in Nigeria. require every social worker to be culturally sensitive, because it may make or mar any intervention program that you want to do, and it will impact negatively or positively on your practice. Why rapport building is important in social work? Why is it important in social work? What are the benefits? What are those things that you can have in rapport building? Why is it important? I think you can read all this on. Let me quickly run through some of this. Why? Rapport building is important in social work because it encourages honest communication from clients. It reduces resistance and increases client cooperation. The client get to cooperate with you. It builds the foundation for effective assessment, intervention, and advocacy. It also helps clients feel empowered. You see, when you are empowered, you become somebody in quotes, you become somebody in the society. And your client becomes respected as well. Especially those who have experienced trauma or marginalization. When you give them respect, when you value their values, when you value their experiences, when you value their skills, you value their worth, their dignity, such an individual will be happy, such an individual will feel empowered, such an individual will have experienced trauma before, but because of what you have done, because of the kind of rapport you have established between you and him or her, what you have is you have become a savior, in quotes, in that particular regard. So when you read, you can read the benefits, you see it in the material, the benefits of rapport building. That is why we do rapport. We talk about enhanced communication, which has explained trust and cooperation, improve relationship, conflict resolution, improve productivity as well. The outcome will be so okay. The outcome of your intervention will be very, very impactful. And we have also talked about key elements in rapport building. And this is what we have here: active listening, non-verbal communication, establish common ground. So these are techniques for rapport building. So empathy, adapt communication style, trust building, like I explained earlier, you can match them together. Then after this, we'll go to confidentiality. But before we go to confidentiality, let me quickly bring an aspect of respect so that I can also emphasize. You see, I emphasize that respect because it is very, very important. Many people do not have respect for others. They do things as the way they feel it should be. But in social work, respect must be very, very it must be given top priority. Like we said, like my sister also assisted the other time, respect is the recognition and appreciation of the inherent worth, feelings, and perspective of others. Recognition and appreciation of the inherent worth, rights, feelings, and perspective of others. It involves treating people with dignity, fairness, and consideration, regardless of their background, beliefs, or status. It involves treating people with dignity, fairness, without discrimination, without bias, and consideration, regardless of their background, beliefs, or status. You recognize, you appreciate the worth, right, feelings, and perspective of others. That is when you have respect. What are the key aspects of respect? Number one, valuing others, acknowledging each other's humanity and uniqueness, appreciating different cultures, opinions, and ways of life. Another one is polite and courteous behavior, speaking and acting in ways that show kindness and consideration. That show kindness and consideration. That is when you are polite. But that is when you have courteous behavior. Avoiding insults, interruptions, or discrimination. Number three, listening and understanding. Paying attention to others' feels and emotions. Being open to dialogue and feedback. Don't say, that is what I want to say, and that is final. You don't want any feedback. You are being dictatorial. You are dictating. So you should not be a dictator at all. That is when you are open to dialogue. Allow others to bring their views and just rub minds together for you to come up with a very good outcome. Then honoring boundaries, respecting personal space, privacy, and choices, not forcing beliefs or actions on others. That is when you honor boundaries. You should know your boundary now. You normally say it. At this man, you don't know your boundary, which means that person has actually transgressed. That person has trespassed. Let me put it like that. Trespass is our boundary. Why respect? Why does it matter in social work? Why does it matter in social work? Why? Especially in social, why does it matter? One, it builds trust and rapport with clients. You remember we talk about respect and rapport building. It promotes peaceful relationships and reduces conflict. It supports human rights, equality, and social justice. It empowers people, especially those who are vulnerable or marginalized. When you give an individual a respect, that person becomes well or not, it becomes empowered. He sees himself as somebody important in the society. In Nigeria, respect is also is deeply rooted in our cultural norms. In Nigeria, we give our culture respect a lot. That is why the clothes we wear, the habit of eating, and the kind of food that we eat, and the way we even greet, such as showing regard for elders. As a young person, you should regard elders, showing regard to elders, using respectful greetings, and honoring community traditions. When there is a particular festival and you are not to go out, you give respect, you don't go out when you are not expected to go out. What you are not to do, societal taboo that you are not to touch, you will not want to do it. While also recognizing that modern values emphasize mutual respect across all ages, genders, and social classes. So that is about respect. We can move on to, I will add that additional note. I will add it and send to you so that we can be on the same page. So that we can be on the same page as expected. So I think, okay, sorry. I think the next is confidentiality. I briefly mentioned about confidentiality the other time. This refers to the ethical and legal duty expected of social worker to protect sensitive information from unauthorized access, use, or disclosure. It is the act of keeping information private and ensuring that it is only accessible to those who have a legitimate need to know. Like I explained the other time, unauthorized access, you do not allow it.
unauthorized access. You do not allow it for any sensitive information that is at your disposal. At your disposal. You don't disclose when you are not authorized to disclose. Legal and ethical considerations. This play a significant role in ensuring confidentiality. When it comes to handling sensitive information, it is important to be aware of the following. Just a minute. Give me 1 minute. I want to change the power source.
No.
You are welcome back. Sorry for that interruption. So what we move into legal and ethical considerations, and this has to be with respect to confidentiality. We're looking at the legal framework. What are those frameworks that actually protect or that we can use to protect, to support confidentiality that we practice in social work? In this case, you have to familiarize yourself with the relevant laws. As earlier said, different laws that govern confidentiality in our field of work, and in this case, the social work. This may include data protection laws, privacy regulations, industry-specific guidelines. For example, in Nigeria, the National Information Technology Development Agency issued the Nigeria Data Protection Regulation. You need to familiarize yourself with this for you to know the kind of information you have to protect. Then, consent and authorization. This is also, the confidentiality is also governed by consent. Before you do anything, you obtain the consent of that individual. Even if you want to conduct a research, before you can apply questionnaire on people, you need to get their consent. They need to authorize, they need to give you that consent for you to do it. But many people disregard this. Even when you are in a gathering, when you are in a meeting, before you can snap my photograph, you can take my photograph and share it, you need my consent. If you hold a workshop with your people, with community people, with the family, if you hold a session, any meeting session with anyone, your service users or your clients, when you bring them together, before you can share the picture to the public, you need to get their consent. It is appropriate for social worker, for anything you do, when you have an interaction, when you have a meeting with anyone, you have a meeting with your client, most especially, you need his or her consent before you can just transmit that to the public. So that's the essence of consent and authorization. Data security. Take necessary measures to protect the confidentiality and integrity of data. The data you have obtained from your service user, you need to protect it. It must be secured. This includes implementing secure storage systems. Do you have encryption, password protection, access controls, regular data backups? Be aware of any requirement regarding data security and apply best practice accordingly. In your computer, in your laptop, do you protect those data? If I pick up your laptop, do I have access? Or I pick up your phone, do I have access to your phone? Can I just open your phone and have access to all the data that you are putting there? There are confidential things that I'm not supposed to see. Do you protect them? Do you secure those data? Do you say, no, because of my belief, I can't hide anything from my spouse? It's different. This is work. This is pure professional conduct, ethical conduct required of you as a professional. You don't disclose everything. You don't say, because I can't hide anything. My husband, my wife knows the password to every data in my phone. No, it shouldn't be so. He or she may have access, may know your password, may know everything, but you should protect, you should secure that particular confidential data, classified information. You should secure it in a better way. Not you should not put it in a general on a general platform where everyone will have access to see it, even your children, even your colleagues, if it is not authorized. So you need to do that. You have backups in your computers, so that when your computer has issue, is there a way for you to retrieve those information back? Data retention and disposal. Establish guidelines for the retention and disposal of data to ensure that it is retained for only as long as necessary and securely disposed of when no longer needed. Adhere to any legal or regulatory requirement regarding data retention and disposal. Do you retain, for how long do you retain data? Do you retain information? When you work with this United Nations agency, most especially the USAID, when you work with them, there is always a restriction that you cannot share their reports unless you are authorized. You cannot share their report to the public. You only share their report with them. They have the right, the sole right, to disclose whatever they want to disclose from the report. Even the picture, you cannot just share it because you are working with them or you are a partner for a particular project. You cannot do it. They will give you a time that you can make it public. You cannot even disclose, you cannot even erase, you cannot even delete their report, even after the intervention. They will give maybe about 3 years, maybe after 3 or 5 years. That is when you can remove those reports from your own database. That's their own regulation. So, like that, you should understand the regulation of your workplace, understand the regulation of your partners, those you are working with. When you understand this, you know the kind of data retention guideline you will follow, and when you can even dispose that particular data. Confidentiality agreement. Non-disclosure agreement, when appropriate, you have to use them. That is, when and how can you disclose that agreement? The USAID example I gave, at the onset of the project, you will sign all these agreements. Everything will be stated there in that agreement, and you sign. Non-disclosure agreement, you sign. So it happens with other partners as well. This agreement outlines the responsibilities and obligations of all parties involved. in protecting the confidentiality of the information. Even picture you cannot share with anyone except you are authorized to do. Professional codes of conduct. Be aware of any professional code of conduct or ethical guidelines that apply to your field of work. This code often emphasizes the importance of confidentiality, integrity, and respect for privacy. Go and read the Charter Act 2022 of the Charter Institute of Social Work Practitioners of Nigeria. Read the act, you will see our code of conduct. You will see our code of conduct as professional social worker. Read through. Like I said, it will be your only book, and it should be your first reference, your first point of reference in whatever you do, because that is going to be the number one rule. Number one law that will be cited in court if you have any issue in court. Breach response. Establish a plan for handling and responding to breaches of confidentiality. This includes promptly addressing breaches, notifying affected parties, and taking appropriate remedy actions. If there is a breach in the agreement, how do you plan to handle it? How do you respond to that? And this is how do you notify the affected parties if you have done anything in breach of the agreement entered about confidentiality? So it's important that you take note of this. Importance of confidentiality. Trust and respect. You see, when you maintain confidentiality as earlier agreed upon, you get to build trust and respect. Confidentiality builds trust and foster respective relationship. And what are we talking about? We are talking about rapport building here. When there is that respective relationship, when there is that trusted relationship, rapport is established. When individuals trust that their personal information or sensitive matter will be kept confidential, they are more likely to be open and honest. This allows for better communication, collaboration, and support within your team and with the beneficiary or client you serve. As an individual, you yourself, when you have a friend that does not keep your information to herself, when you have a friend that is so lousy, will you continue to allow her have access to all your sensitive information? You will never. You will not want to do, because that person must have breached that confidence you repose in him or her. So put yourself in that position. So the same thing with your clients. When there are classified information, when there are information that are very, very secret that you are not supposed to disclose to other party, and you go out to do that, you lose trust, you lose respect for that individual. Privacy protection. Confidentiality safeguards the privacy of individuals. People will say, in that office, I don't have privacy. I need to separate my office from those of my colleagues because you don't have privacy. You see, when you have privacy, it maintains, it tries to safeguard your confidentiality. It ensures that personal, sensitive, or private information is not disclosed or accessed by unauthorized parties. Respecting and protecting privacy is essential for maintaining dignity, autonomy, and individual rights. Your individual right is protected when confidentiality is maintained. Privacy, it will be protected. Professionalism and ethics, it makes you much more professional, and it becomes ethical for you to do when you maintain confidentiality. So you want to you demonstrate that you are professional, that you have a good ethical conduct, and you also adhere to professional standard as expected of you, or code of, it shows that you take privacy seriously and are committed to upholding the rights and well-being of individuals. You should not be named parrots now. You should not be named parrots. Social workers, they are not parrots. Not everything you see or everything you hear that you tell people. You should try to maintain a kind of decorum in what you say. It is a good, virtuous habit that I know of is for an individual, a respected individual, most especially elders, is for you to keep many things within you and say few things outside. If you see a respected elder or a respected individual, he doesn't just talk. He doesn't talk like parrots. It regulates whatever he or she says. Is very careful of the choice of words that he will use when he talks, even when angry. Even when angry. So it becomes professional when you maintain confidentiality. Safety and security. Confidentiality helps protect individuals from potential harm. The information that is not supposed to be exposed. You ask the chief security officers of various states, the governors. You ask Mr. President. Mr. President, the information he has access to must not be disclosed at all. You cannot disclose it. Even the chairman of a local government is not even expected to disclose information at his disposal, security information for that matter. If they disclose it, there will be chaos, there will be crisis. The information at their disposal, if they should disclose it to the public, everything will not, there will be disorder. Everything will not be organized again. There will be pandemonium everywhere. So that is why when you maintain that may arise from the unauthorized use or disclosure of personal information. When you do that, look at the kind of safety and security that we have when you maintain confidentiality. You are not putting your so sorry, just a minute. Hello, can you still see my screen?
Yes, sir, we can.
Yes, sir, we can see it, sir.
Yes, we
Okay,
can
sorry.
see.
All right. So we also talk about compliance with laws and regulations. Confidentiality is often required by law or regulations, such as data protection law, privacy regulation, and industry-specific guidelines. Adhering to this legal requirement is not only important to avoid legal consequences, but also to ensure that you respect the rights and privacy of individuals. You respect the rights of others. It means that you are compliant. You comply with laws and regulations when you maintain confidentiality. Reputation and trustworthiness. Don't forget, we talked about trust the other time. You build the reputation, you build your own reputation when you maintain confidence. When people see you as someone that is reserved, that keeps confidential things really confidential, people will trust you and you become trustworthy for anything, and your reputation will be high. Organizations and individuals who prioritize confidentiality gain a reputation for being trustworthy and reliable. This enhances their credibility and foster positive relationship with stakeholders, partners, and the community. You, as an individual too, put yourself in that shoe. you patronize hospitals that have good reputation. You allow your children to go to schools with good reputation. Schools who have trustworthy teacher, trustworthy individuals, trustworthy people working in that place. You attend supermarkets that have good reputation. Supermarkets that do not sell expired goods. You patronize them. Why? Because you have reputation. They have good reputation because you trust that particular place, or you respect them, or you have because they are trustworthy. What they give you, they are reliable. When they say this is A, it is A. You go to a hospital that keep your sensitive information, not the hospital that will disclose or that disclose your information to any dictator. Sorry, the network just took me out. I'm sorry, the network just took me out.
No problem, sir.
Okay, so we'll soon conclude. Don't worry. So we are still on the confidentiality. We are on effective service delivery. On effective service delivery, okay, sorry. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we
Yes,
can
sir,
hear
we can
you.
hear you, sir.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So effective service delivery, talking about confidentiality enables effective service delivery by creating an environment where individuals feel safe and comfortable sharing sensitive information. This allows you to provide personalized and tailored support, address specific needs, and make informed decisions. There will be an environment where you will be able to deliver well. Legal and ethical obligations. Confidentiality is not only a professional responsibility, but also a legal and ethical obligation that you need to do. Upholding confidentiality help you comply with legal frameworks, maintain ethical standards, and avoid potential legal or ethical challenges. What are the confidentiality best practices? 1, access control. Not everyone will have access to any information. You can control access to information at your own disposal. You limit access to authorized personnel only. For example,
Sir,
each social workers will have their own unique login credentials to access the organization's database of file system. Encryption. Encryption. If you look at your phone, just look at your phone very well. Go to WhatsApp. When you get to WhatsApp, look at the setting. You see that every message here is encrypted. What does it mean? You have been seeing this. When they say every message is encrypted, it means that only you and the other partner, I mean, your recipient or the other person at the other end, will only see the messages between the two of you. No third party interference. No third party will not gain access to that 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 information between the communication between of you. No interruption. No third party. Because nobody can just get to know what you communicate. What the communication between the two of you. When communicating sensitive information electronically, it is important to use encryption to secure the data. Encrypted messaging apps or email service can be used to protect the confidentiality of the information being transmitted. If I don't have your password, I cannot have access to your email. So, example, social worker use a secure messaging app with end-to-end. That is why it is end-to-end. I mean, from my own end to your own end. But the one you are using, the kind of communication we are using now between me and you at the other end, you see, we are many on the call. I'm talking from my end. You can also talk to that more than two, but the message is just end to end between me and you, because if you don't belong to this class, you don't have access to, to the link to join this class. You cannot join the class. People outside this class will not know what we are doing except we give them access. That is end to end. Then secure storage. We talk about secure storage the other time. It's important that you secure every information, every data that you have. You make sure that it is secure. Maybe by backup, even when the phone is damaged, the backup will definitely be of assistance to you by giving you, by securing whatever you have in the data, and later you can retrieve such information. Physical documents can be stored in locked cabinets or secure rooms, while digital files should be saved in password-protected folders and encrypted storage devices. You can see different examples. Training and awareness. Social workers will receive training on confidentiality best practices, emphasizing the importance of safeguarding sensitive information. Regular awareness sessions will be conducted to update field officers on emerging private threats and reinforce the need for confidentiality. Like we've been talking all along, like all these program modules that you are being exposed to, this is part of the training on confidentiality. When you are on pitch, when you are practicing, you can still allow yourself the opportunity for further training on how best you can keep your data, how best you can handle your computer storage, how best you can do backup, and so on and so forth. When you don't have required skill, you get the skill from the experts, those that have knowledge about information security or cyber security or whatever. This will be a good advantage for you as social workers to continue to get this training through the continuous educational program that you have. Confidentiality agreement. Social workers will sign confidentiality agreement or non-disclosure agreement that outline their responsibilities in protecting confidential information. These agreements will specify the consequences of breaching confidentiality. For example, social workers will sign a confidentiality agreement with the organization where they work, acknowledging their commitment to maintaining the confidentiality of beneficiary data and agreeing to abide by the organization's private policies, and so on and so forth. Secure communication. Social workers will use secure communication channels when discussing sensitive matters. Use secure communication channels. Don't use Facebook to communicate information to people, because that one is not secure. Anybody can just tap in. You don't use public Wi-Fi on your phone when you get to the airport, and you know that the airport has Wi-Fi facility, free Wi-Fi services, and you try to log in with your phone. Using that public Wi-Fi can give some other people access to your private data, to your data if it's not properly secured. Because some people are careless. That is why this fraudster, they gain access into their data privacy, because some of our people are careless in handling information. They have not been using secure communication channel. Maybe one time or the other, they have used unsecure communication channel to communicate certain things, and from there they get their information. Even when you go to bank, some people will just fill form, they put it on the table, and others may even flip at it and get the information from the form they fill in the bank, and they begin to wonder how do these fraudsters get access to their account and so on and so forth. Because of their carelessness, sometimes some people even be making calls in the public vehicle. They be making calls about transactions in the public, in the garage, in the motor parks, at bus stops, and so on and so forth, even in markets. When they do that, they are using communication channels that are not secure. So they begin to have issues with that. I think at this point, this is about 4 minutes to 11 o'clock, and I want to believe we have used a essential part of our time to discuss much about today's lecture. I think I'll give you time to ask questions, to make contributions, if there are any, so that we can put it, we can call it a day at this point. In 4 minutes, we can do that. So I want to thank you for your attention, for listening. So questions, comments are welcome. Thank you.
Good morning, sir. Hello, sir. Hello.
Please go ahead.
Yes, please. Thank you so much for your time with us. I just have one question. To what extent can you keep confidentiality when a client tells you something that is very serious that may involve taking his life or her life? Are you supposed to keep that to yourself for the sake of confidentiality, or to link up to agencies that can support at that moment for such an information? I just want to know, what do we do when a client gives an information that you think it's not safe to keep to yourself?
Thank you. Yes. Thank you for that question. For you to have to keep to maintain confidentiality, it has an extent. You cannot just maintain confidentiality for long. It has an extent. It has a boundary. When you know that a life is at danger, when you know that it is quite, it will be quite suicidal to keep such confidentiality have to be broken. And especially when you know there are agencies, there are other experts that can handle this case well, you need to do the transfer immediately. You need to do a kind of referral. And this you cannot, for criminal cases, for instance, you don't say you want to be confidential about it and you don't want to disclose. You have to disclose. Even when you notice the criminal, kind of a criminal tendency in your clients, you need not keep that. That cannot be said to be keeping confidentiality. So you have to reach out to those that can be of help immediately. Remember, the overall goal is for us to have a long-term well-being of that individual and of the society at the same time. There's no way you can help an individual at the detriment of the community, or at the detriment of his family, or the detriment of the community, of the society at large. So you have to put consideration to other factors. Thank you so much. I wouldn't know
if that has answered your question in a way.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for your response. I was just wondering if it is also right to let the client know that there are certain information that I cannot promise I will keep to myself, so that they don't get disappointed when they have thought that, okay, they can keep some information with you, but they now end up hearing from an agency that this has been told to them and they are coming to support the person. You get my point. So how best can we undo that? Can we just prepare their minds that, look, I'm happy to hear all you tell me, but I cannot guarantee that I will keep everything, particularly if it has to do with your life and safety of other people. Thank you, sir.
Exactly, sir. You just have to, that is why you have to define the limit of that confidentiality. It is important you let him know. It is important. It is important you let him know. We will talk about the boundaries of what you can keep. And somebody cannot just decide to give information that will jeopardize the life of others, that will even trample on the right of others. One will not just take that. So it is important you let him know so that the two of you will be on the same page at initial. It will not be that perhaps you have broken a kind of promise, so to say, between you and the service user. It is important you let him know. Thank you.
I'm grateful, sir.
Yeah, thank you, sir. You are welcome. Any other question, comments, contribution? Well, if you have no other comments, there are no questions, I think we can call it a day at this point in time. So until another time when we have the opportunity of meeting. Thank you so much and remain blessed.
Hello, sir.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, who is this?
Thank you,
hello,
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
all right.
Hello, sir.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Hello, sir.
Thank you,
1
sir.
minute, sir, before you go. 1
Hello,
minute, sir.
And
Thank
people
you
have
so
been
much,
talking
sir.
about this person, please.
Okay, my concern is about the attendance. Attendance, the network has been off and on, and I discovered that the 2 times that they uploaded attendance, mine was not there. And I've been steady with the class.
Okay. The IT department is doing that too. Perhaps you can make that known on the platform so that the IT people can see that.
We've been
Hello,
doing
sir.
that. I think
Same as me. My name is not there. My name is not there.
We've made that observation in the platform.
No problem. Make it known on the platform so that the IT people will just will address your complaint. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you so much. We've done that. Thank you. God bless you
Thank
for
you,
the
sir.
enriching.
God bless you, sir.
Thank you,
You are welcome.